Hey everybody, welcome back to Airman Romero. Thanks for coming back. This week we're going to pick right up where we left off last week, and we're going to jump into week 5 of U.S. Air Force basic military training. For those of you folks tuning in for the first time, this is a channel I created where I'm documenting my son's journey into the U.S. Air Force and what my experience is like as a parent and as an Air Force retiree on what the process is like now. So we're in week 5 now, and we're actually beyond the halfway point, right? There's about 2 weeks left. Week 7 doesn't really count, right? So there's 2 full weeks of training left before graduation, barring any injury, illness, or any type of recycling. You know, I had a question about med hold after my last video. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of information because there's so many ways that med hold can go. So be on the lookout for a follow-up video. So there's a lot happening this week to prepare for Pacer Forge and graduation in weeks 6 and 7. First off, they're going to start the week off with haircuts. You know, the men will go in for their second haircut. I think it's 2. I could have sworn when I went through we had 3, but I could be wrong. You know, this won't be a full buzz cut like they got day 2 or 0 week, you know, but I remember mine pretty much being essentially a high and tight. Real close on the sides and a little left on top to grow out. The women, as you know, do not get haircuts. They just have to ensure that their hair is kept within military standards. The next thing they'll be handling this week is their drill progression checks. Now, this really should not be a problem for the trainees because they drill every day at BMT, whether they realize it or not. You know, if they're going to appointments, they're practicing drill. If they're going to the DFAC, they're practicing drill. If they're making a BX run, they're practicing drill. When they're marching, they are practicing drill because they are making facing movements, column left, column right, column half left, column half right. The only thing I can see being an issue is the pressure of the eyes on you because this isn't done as a whole flight. This is done in small groups, 3 to 4 airmen. So I could see that potentially being a problem if the kids are getting maybe stage fright or if they're getting nervous, but they shouldn't really be nervous around their TI at this point, right? Because at this point, like I said last week, the yelling kind of slows down. So they're almost there to teach now versus to indoctrinate now. I remember when I went through, and you're going to hear that a lot, right? I remember back when I went through, right? We had a drill competition where we competed against the other flights that came in our graduation group, right? Or the intake that came in that 0 week that started with us, 4 or 5 flights. And it was all run by the trainees, right? Not the competition, but the marching was led by your dorm chief. And ours was a guy named Travis Kling. I can't really remember where Travis Kling was from, but I can't believe I remember his name still. I remember the weirdest things, right? I actually remember that he was a plumber before he joined the military, and he became a plumber in the Air Force, right? So during our off time, usually on the weekends, we'd go out and practice where he would march the flight. And you have essentially a giant imaginary square that you are to march in and practice all your facing movements, right? Column left, column right, column half right, column half left, things like that, right? And the one that we got hung up on, which probably cost us the competition, was to the rear, right? And okay, guys, you can laugh, snicker, whatever, but that's the command, right? To the rear march, right? So basically it's, if you're going straight in a column, instead of doing a column left, you're actually going straight and almost zigzagging straight back, right? Because with the facing movement, right? So when you're in drill, your step should be about 24 inches in length, right? So your stride is 24, 24, 24. Well, the command there is it's a half step, full step, half step, full, right? So it's a 12, pivot, 12, 24, right? So it's a half step, you're going to pivot to the back, half step, and then you take that full step to get back in stride with everybody else, right? Well, we were getting close to the end of competition, and dude, we were really smoking this thing. We probably would have won if it wasn't for this, right? And our flight was also honor flight, right? So we made all the requirements to get honor flight, and we got our streamer. We're all happy, right? Because we have a little honor flight streamer on our guidon, which I think we kind of put it on early, if I remember right. I think our TI said that, but we were our TI's first flight. He was a senior airman at the time, Senior Airman Williams. And he was pretty proud, right? Because he wasn't supposed to take our flight. We had Staff Sergeant Hamilton, who we never met until like week 4 because he was on paternity leave. So Airman Williams came in, took the flight as temporary. Well, when Sergeant Hamilton came back, they decided to keep it or give it to Senior Airman Williams, and he pushed us through, and we were his first flight. We got on our flight. And so I think he was pretty proud of that. So he put our streamer on. So we were at drill competition with our streamer and our guide on. We were the only ones out there with it on. And as we messed up that movement, you hear everybody, all the other flights just, a collective sigh, right? And as that happened, I didn't see it, but everybody else told us about it after. Our little honor flight streamer fell off our guide on and just kind of fell to the ground, and we had to finish the competition. And our guide on, Alabaladejo, that was his name. I don't remember his first name. He was from New Jersey. I remember that. God, some of the things you remember, right? He picked it up, and that was that, right? But I think if it wasn't for that, we would have won because, dude, we were humming that competition. I mean, it was impressive for a bunch of 18, 19, and 20-year-olds to do that on our own. So I wonder if I still have that. Like I said, there was no TI involvement in that. It was just the dorm chief and us. So it was actually pretty cool. So I do wonder if they still have that. I haven't heard anything about that. I haven't seen videos about that. So anybody knows, let me know. Up next, the trainees will perform what's called their military skills development progress check. This includes their wall locker inspections, their living area inspections, their RLA, their recruit living area, and a bunch of memory work checks, right? Your memory work is, for example, your enlisted officer rank structure and their pay grades, your chain of command, MAGCOMs, Airman's Creed, Air Force Song, etc. This all, at this point, should all be old hat, right? Because they're studying this stuff every day. A few weeks back when we talked to my son, he said he was having problems remembering who the chain of command was. And I think it's just there for Lackland there at the squadron and the training group. But that's usually not kind of on the test. They'll have a first of their final exams this week, which is their PT test. Their PT test, if you're unfamiliar, it consists of a waist measurement, mile and a half time to run, max amount of sit-ups in 1 minute, and max amount of push-ups in 1 minute, with the minimum required score of 75 to pass. When I went through, I don't remember a waist component, but that waist component stuff came in when I was active duty. We switched from a bike test to a run test, so all that stuff came out. But if you're curious, here's an example of the scoring system, right? So what you've got is you've got your name, your recruit, you've got your age, because everything is broken down by age bracket, right? Age and gender. So you've got your age, your waist size, your gender, you've got your run time, your sit-ups, and your push-ups. And here it'll give you what your minimum score is, what minimum required to meet that minimum 75. So in this case, my son's run time is a minimum of 13:25, I think. I'm going off the top of my head. I'm guessing. You've got your maximum amount of sit-ups, or the minimum amount of sit-ups and minimum amount of push-ups. And this will tell you what you need in order to get that 75. Obviously, you want to do better than the 75, but that's what it is to meet the standard. Always exceed the standard. Now, if they don't pass, they will be given an opportunity to retest. There actually may be 2 additional chances versus the 1 before they are potentially recycled. But I had to double check on that. They get recycled, they get sent back a week just for more PT, or maybe 2 weeks just to get some more PT. And then the biggest component for week 5 is their field expeditionary skills training, also known as FEST and Tactical Combat Casualty Care, or TCCC. FEST is where your trainees will crawl through sand pits, practice combatives with their weapon, their M4, and learn guard positions. TCCC is an all-service members course that teaches service members life-saving skills to render basic medical aid to a trauma casualty. The 5 main life-saving skills learned are rapid casualty assessment, tourniquet application, wound packing with hemostatic dressings, and application of pressure bandages. And one more, right? Basic airway maneuvers to open the airway. We used to call this stuff self-aid buddy care back in the day, but that was a long time ago. I think the name may have changed between then. But, this is an all-services course. The Secretary of Defense mandated that all military service members be trained and become proficient in basic life-saving TCCC AMS skills. Replacing, I was right, replacing the Combat Lifesaver course. Both of these lessons are a building block to be used in week 6 during their Pace Your Forge exercise, which we will talk more about next week when we do our week 6 video. They'll also get some more familiarization or some initial familiarization with their M4 weapon system and get some pre-CATM training lessons to prepare for the range next week. You know, when I went through, we learned all that stuff in one day. I think they've got, as I was going through my career, you know, the training had changed based on what was going on in the world at that time, right? I joined pre-9/11 and went through 9/11 and up until 2014. So I saw a lot of it, and I saw a lot of the changes that come, and now they're instituting that stuff in basic training. So that's a lot, right? But if the week wasn't busy enough, you know, the trainees will also be in their blues this week. So it's another first for them, right? Learning on how to properly wear the uniform. But it also presents another inspection item because it's more uniform items to put in their wall locker, make sure they're spacing, no lint, make sure they're clean, things like that. So it's going to be a busy week. And that really sums up week 5. You know, there's a lot more that I'm probably not covering, but I wanted to hit with the bigger items that are happening this week. They're going to lead into everything that's going on next week. So if you watched the video, if you like the channel, I appreciate it. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Or if you didn't like the video, if you feel like I'm missing something, if you feel like I didn't cover anything, please put it in the comments. Let me know. I'm always open to suggestions. I'll definitely talk about what you guys want to hear, because this is not just for me, it's for you as well, right? As a parent, as a potential enlistee, it's all good information, right? It's always the more you know, right? But I'm going to end it here. I appreciate you guys hanging out tonight, and I appreciate you guys following the page, watching the videos, keeping up with my daily shorts on the workouts. You're going to get a 2-fer this week, right? Because one day, if it's posted tomorrow or posted on Tuesday, you're going to get a workout short, and you'll get this video as well. But again, guys, thanks for watching. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.